Hello, I'm Xarkun. This is World of Warships Legends. Sergio Splendento on the screen. He is the commander, and this is the build that I am using on the new Tier 6 Premium Russian Destroyer Ognevoi. Got Tyrwit and Azerlane Atago as inspirations for Splendento. This is kind of a torpedo build. Here is my mod selection for the ship. In the first slot, we have Aiming Systems Mod 1, Propulsion in the second, Concealment in the third. Note, however, that I have this fourth mod slot highlighted because it's one of those unique mod slots that allows you to change one of the armaments for the ship for free. The Udachi also has one like this, and so does the Grosse Kurfürst. This is a torpedo mod. All it really does is increase the number of torpedoes carried by the Ognevoi from 6 to 10, and consequently, the reload speed on the torpedoes goes up from just under a minute with the 6 torpedoes to about a minute and 30 seconds with the 10 torpedoes. Personally, I'm going to use the 10 torpedoes on this ship. 6 just doesn't seem like enough to me. Anyway, we're going to jump into some gameplay here on New Dawn, Capture the Base mode, and I'm going to interject a clip of another game about midway through this video, and I hope a well-timed point to show more of the effectiveness of the guns, and we'll save talking about the gun stats until around then, because this is very much a hybrid destroyer in my opinion. It's a torpedo/gunboat with a primary focus on torpedoes. It's got 16,100 hit points, which is fine. It's not a super amount of hit points, but it's okay. The torpedoes, though, with this torpedo mod, it has 2 quintuple torpedo launchers, which gives it more torpedoes than any destroyer at the tier except the Benson, whose torps are honestly most comparable to this. The torpedoes reload in 90.3 seconds on my build. That's decent, kind of middle of the pack reload. They do 15,100 max damage, which is pretty good. It's on the higher end of the spectrum, only really beaten by the French and Japanese destroyers. With Azerlane Atago as an inspiration, these torpedoes have a 1 kilometer detectability, pretty stealthy. They fire out to 10 kilometers, which is a very long range, rivaling the Akatsuki and the Asashio, but they do only go at 60 knots, which is a fairly slow speed. Nevertheless, since you have 10 of them, you can fire them as I have in the narrow spread, side by side, and that makes a pretty wide spread. You got battleships sailing in a straight line for a while across the map. Well, you're probably guaranteed to hit them with at least 1 torpedo. Let's see how these are doing against the Fuso out there. Yep, it looks like we're going to catch him with 3. And those 3 torpedoes do 30,000 damage. They cause a flood, and you can kind of get an idea of how effective they are. The only problem is they are kind of slow, so it is nice to have that long range on them. But by the time they reach a target at 9 or 10 kilometers, there has been plenty of time for that target to make a maneuver and to dodge them, which is why it's nice to have so many of them, to have 10 of them. If you go with the 6 torpedoes, they also fire out to a range of 10 kilometers, but you've got 4 fewer torpedoes to give yourself some leeway to land any on the target. Now, this flank of the map is essentially overrun by enemies, so we're going to play this pretty carefully. Launch some more torpedoes at the Fuso. Let's talk about the maneuverability characteristics real quick. 38.1 knot max speed, not quite as fast as the other Russian destroyers or the French, but a tiny bit faster than average. 610 meter turning circle radius, that's fairly tight, and it's only really beaten by the Benson and the Jervis. And a 5.2 second rudder shift. Kinda slow, could be made better with other skill choices. And detectability, 5.6 kilometers, fairly average. not going to be winning any stealth records here, but it gets the job done for being a hybrid torpedo gunboat. Looks like our next spread of torpedoes launched at the Fuso is just about as perfect as we can get it. For such a long range, he is definitely going to take one or two of them, and it doesn't even look like he's seen them yet because they're so stealthy. And yeah, he takes two of them, we're able to finish him off. Unfortunately, our support is bunched up over there to the eastern side of the map. There's two ships, and we've got at least 4 enemy ships here. We've been spotted by an enemy destroyer who's taking shots at us, so we're smoking up. Trento out there, firing the AP at him. We'll talk a little bit about how effective these guns are. So it's only got 4 of them. That means the DPM isn't quite as spectacular as the other Russian destroyers, which all have 5 guns, but these guns are useful. There are 4 of them, 130mm size, basically your typical Russian guns. We're launching torpedoes now, though, at this Trento, only 1 set. There's 5 of them, so if you're using the 6 torpedoes, you can launch both sets, and you'll only have 1 more torpedo than 1 torp launcher with 5 would give you. We do hit the Trento with 2 of them, not enough to take him out, which is unfortunate, but we've reserved this other torpedo launcher for that very reason. So we're launching torpedoes again at the Trento, who is firing AP at us for some reason. Benson has popped up. We're going to take him on. We do have a hit points advantage, and when we have a hit points advantage, that is going to make it a lot easier to deal with this guy. Unfortunately, the Trento did not take any further torpedoes, so he's still shooting at us. We need to take out this Benson, though. He is the biggest threat right now if that Trento is going to continue shooting armor-piercing at us. So you can see these guns, they don't fire quite as fast as the Bensons, but they do hit fairly hard, and they are effective. Unfortunately, they are liable to be taken out, and when that happens, it's a really big problem for your effectiveness in terms of DPM. Nevertheless, we are able to take out the Benson, and the Trento is still firing armor-piercing at us for some reason. As you can see, it's not very effective. Why isn't it effective? Honestly, I don't know what size guns the Trento has. I'm not sure if it's the 203mm. It might be. But if you're going to shoot armor-piercing at a destroyer, just keep in mind overmatch mechanics. There we take an AP shot at the Trento. Don't get anything too spectacular, but that one, 2 Citadels, 4,900 damage. He's almost dead. Anyway, if you're shooting AP at a destroyer, keep in mind that for low-caliber cruiser AP, you don't need a lot of armor on the bow or the stern to not be overmatched. Plus, this guy's missing us a lot. We're trying to aim the HE up into his superstructure to ensure we get penetrating damage. It'll just shatter right off his hull. We need to hit him with 1 good shot to take him down. And he does hit us there for a scary amount of damage. We're almost dead, but we're able to take him out too. Now, I don't think that quite gives you an impression of how effective the guns can be. We've seen how effective the torpedoes can be already, and that gives you some idea of the guns, but let's cut to another clip in a game I played in the Ognevoi. Here we're approaching a Charlie Cap. We've got a Benson and an Aoba over there. This was one of the games where I was testing out the 6 torpedoes, so I'm going to fire them into the cap, and this is what the Ognevoi I think is really good at, is flooding cap circles with torpedoes. It's much better at it if you're going to use the 10 torpedoes because you've got a lot more to flood the cap with. Anyway, we'll keep those torpedoes in mind. They're kind of heading toward where the Benson is sailing, and we're going to use our pretty good concealment to enter this cap circle unspotted before we really slow down and deploy a smoke screen. We've got teammates all around us. They're going to be able to continue to spot this Aoba as we smoke up, which is good. He's giving us flat broadside, so we choose to shoot AP. Not a lot on that first salvo, but the second, much like with the Trento, 2 Citadels, 4,900 damage. Got incoming torpedoes from the Aoba and probably also the Benson, so we're going to have to take care to avoid those. One of our torpedoes does hit the Benson. That's what I'm talking about, these zoning torpedoes for flooding cap circles. Very good at doing that. Even though they are kind of slow, there's a lot of them, and you will have to work to miss so many. Concentrating on dodging these torpedoes, we succeed. The Aoba takes down our teammate, but he's giving us broadside again, and we've still got the armor-piercing loaded, so there's 5k. And there is the kill shot, another 2 Citadels. This thing can rip cruisers apart if they show you broadside, much like the other Russian destroyers. So don't discount the guns. It's very much a hybrid boat, although the focus should probably be on torpedoes. Anyway, back to the end of this game. Not too much else is going to happen before it's over. So I'll just say that the guns, there's 4 of them, 11.8 kilometer range on my build, 5-second reload, 16.4 second turret traverse, typically Russian turret traverse, made better with Splendento's base skill that increases turret traverse speed. 1900 max HE shell damage, 8% fire chance, 2500 max AP shell damage. Very typical Russian gun destroyer characteristics, except for the number of guns. Essentially, what I think this ship is good for is for using its long-range torpedoes, if you choose the one that gives you 10 of them, for zoning certain areas of the map, stopping pushes, flooding cap circles, potentially taking out enemy destroyers. You might want to use Xarkun in order to give yourself a few torpedo buffs, such as a torpedo speed buff. The torpedoes are actually slower at base than 60 knots. We've got that torpedo speed buff on Splendento here. You can also get it on Xarkun. And Xarkun has the torpedo reload skill. So does Splendento, although we're using that one that works more like Adrenaline Rush on the PC and applies to both the torpedoes and the guns. Trubetskoy might also not be a bad choice just because he has twist and track, and as we've demonstrated before in one of our Benham videos, twist and track is very useful for using torpedoes to flood key areas of the map and cap circles, and I think that's what this destroyer is all about. Also very good at firing torpedoes behind it toward ships that are pushing into it. You definitely don't want to push into an Ognevoi when it has 10 torpedoes, especially if it's going to do what I did to the Trento earlier in the game. It's just unfortunate that that second set didn't hit. So, is this a good destroyer to go after in terms of grinding for Tabz in the Rust and Rumble event? Well, personally, I'm going to go after it. It's unique in the Soviet destroyers in that it's much more of a torpedo boat than even the other Tier 6 premium Soviet destroyer, Leningrad. And honestly, I find it pretty fun. So, I like it. I'm going to try and buy it with the Tabz. That, though, is going to conclude the game with our victory and this first impressions review. Hope you enjoyed it. If so, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. We're nearly at 2K, so thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. I will see you next time. Goodbye.